So hello guys, my name is Miss Aubrey, and for today's lesson number 5, I will be teaching you about random variables and probability. So ito yung topic nyo para sa statistics and probability. So at the end of the lesson, you are expected to first illustrate a random variable, which is discrete or continuous. Distinguish between a discrete and continuous random variable. Find possible values of a random variable. Illustrate a probability distribution for a discrete random variable and its properties. Compute probabilities corresponding to a given random variable. So what is a random variable? A random variable is a result of chance event that you can measure or count. It is a numerical quantity that is assigned to the outcome of an experience. It is a variable that assumes numerical values associated with the events of an experiment. So in this lesson, we will do experiments. So it's important to find the values of a random variable here kasi gamitin natin yan para ma-measure natin o ma-find natin ang probability. So here are a few samples of experiments. Okay. First, we have tossing a coin 2 times, drawing 2 balls in a box, rolling a die. Yung die, siya yung dice, diba? Okay. Yung may mga dots. Note, we use capital letters to represent a random variable. So before we proceed on determining the value of a random variable, let's first learn about probability. It is a field of mathematics that deals with chance. Okay, so may mga binabasa natin ang probability sa mga sa chances. Okay, halimbawa dumilim yung langit. What are the chances na uulan o hindi kapag dumilim yung langit? So gagamitan natin siya ng dito papasok yung probability. So we will do experiment. Okay, para malaman natin yung probability na kapag dumilim ay uulan ba o hindi. Okay? So sa probability, we cannot predict okay, the chances with certainty, or hindi natin mapredict, hindi natin mapredict na may katiyakan. Okay? So if we do experiment on the said event, okay, na kung dumilim yung langit, sabi lang natin na 50% chance na uulan at 50% chance na hindi uulan. Yun ang probability. Each repetition of an event, of an experiment is called a trial. Okay. Next, outcome. So it is a result of an experiment. So yung outcome, kunyari sa halimbawa ko kanina na kung didilim ba, ang outcome doon ay yung uulan o hindi uulan. Okay. An event is any collection of outcomes. And simple event is an event with only one possible outcome. Next, sample space. The sample space for a given experiment is a set S. So ito yung S, nire-represent niya yung sample space. Okay. That contains all possible outcomes of the experiment. So sa example ko kanina na pag dumilim yung langit, yung all possible outcomes doon ay yung didilim or hindi didilim. So dalawa yung possible outcomes. So yun yung magiging sample space natin. And any experiment for which the sample space is S, the probability of an event occurring is given by the formula. So to be able to find the probability, we will use a formula. So we have an example here, okay, on finding the probability of an event. The sample space for the experiment in tossing a coin. Yan. So, yan. So, di ba kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng coin or nag-flip ng coin, dalawa na naman ang magiging outcome niyan. Either lalabas ang head or ang tail. So, ang magiging sample space natin ay head or tail. So, dalawa ang sample space natin. Kasi dalawa na naman ang possible outcome kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng coin. So, probability of an event. So, ito yung formula na gamitin natin. Event over sample space. What is event? It is the number of outcomes of the event. Okay? So, sample space is the number of all possible outcomes. So, meron tayong halimbawa. So, kapag nag-toss tayo ng coin, ilan ang probability of getting a head? Okay? Ilan daw ang chance na lalabas ang head kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng coin? So, yung event natin ay magiging head, bilang ng head or number of outcomes of head over sample space. Ang sample space natin ay dalawa lang. So, pag nag-toss tayo ng coin, di ba? Isang beses lang naman pwedeng lumabas ang head. Yeah. So, 1 lang. 1 over sample space 2. So, 50% lang ang chance na kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng coin, lalabas ay head. 50% or 1/2. Yan. Yan yung probability of getting a head. Next, we proceed. Okay. So, we have here example naman on determining the values of a random variable. Example number 1. Suppose 2 coins are tossed and we are interested to determine the number of tails that will come out. Let us use T to represent the number of tails that will come out. Determine the values of the random variable T. So, dito naman sa example natin, suppose daw ay tayo nag-flip or nag-toss ng dalawang coins. Okay? Need natin i-determine kung ilan ang possible outcome na lalabas ang tails. Okay? Then we need to determine the values of the random variable T. So we have here a coin. So sa first toss, di ba, pag tayo ay nag-toss ng unang ng piso, yan, ang possibility na lalabas ay head or tail. Okay, head or tail lang. So dalawa lang. Pero kapag tayo ay nag-toss naman ng 2 coins, ang possibility na lalabas ay head, o kaya naman head or tail. Pwede rin namang ang lalabas ay tail or head, o kaya naman tail or tail. So, ilan ang possible outcome niya? Ang possible outcome ay head, yan. Head, tail, head, and tail. So, all possible outcomes is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yan. So, yun yung possible outcomes. So, ang sample space natin ay magiging 4. Yan. So, ilagay natin siya sa table. Okay, yan. Lapag natin siya sa table. So, hanapin na natin yung values of the random variable T. So, hanapin natin yung kung ilang beses lalabas ang number of tails sa bawat outcome. Sa first outcome, lumabas ba yung tail? Di ba hindi? Kasi puro head lang. So, 0 yung value. Sa second outcome, lumabas yung tail, pero isang beses lang. So, 1 ang value. Sa second outcome, isang beses din lang. So, 1 ulit. Sa fourth outcome, 2 beses lumabas ang tail. Meaning to say, the values of the random variable T, number of tails, in this experiment are 0, no head, 1, 1 head, 0, no tail, 1, 1 tail, and 2, 2 tails. So, T is equals to 0, 1, 2. So, ito yung values niya. So this is how you determine the values of a random variable. Okay. Next, example number 2. We have 2 balls are drawn in succession without replacement from a box containing 5 orange balls and 6 violet balls. Let V be the random variable representing the number of violet balls. Find the values of the random variable V. So, sa loob daw ng box, nagko-contain ng 5 orange balls and 6 violet balls. So, we determine the values of a random variable V. So, ilan yung possibility na kapag tayo ay nag-draw or na nag-pick ng dalawang bola sa loob ng box, na makukuha natin ay violet balls. So, sample space natin ito. Sa first draw natin, pwedeng lumabas ay 2 orange balls. Sa second outcome naman, pwedeng 1 orange ball and 1 violet ball. Sa third outcome, pwedeng ang makuha natin ay 1 violet ball or 1 orange ball. And sa fourth outcome naman, ang pwede natin makuha ay 2 violet balls. So, ang total ng ating sample space ay 4. So, ilapag natin siya sa ating table. So, the values of the random variable V or number of violet balls, the first outcome ay 0. Kasi wala namang lumabas na violet ball. Sa second outcome naman ay 1 kasi isang beses lang lumabas ang violet ball. Sa third outcome naman, 1 ulit. And sa fourth outcome, 2 beses lumabas ang violet ball. So the values of the random variable V, number of violet balls in this experiment are 0, 1, and 2. Just like our example number 1. V is equals to 0, 1, 2. Next, example number 3. 4 coins are tossed. Let T be the random variable representing the number of tails that occur. Find the values of the random variable T. So, sa ating example number 3 naman, 4 na coins ang ating ito-toss or i-flip. So, let us determine the number of tails na lalabas. So, we have a coin here. So, yeah. So, sa first toss, di ba, dalawang possible outcome. Sa second toss, 4 ang possible outcome. Sa third naman ay 8. Yan. And sa fourth toss, 16 yan lahat pag binilang nyo. 16. So, ang possible outcomes kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 4 coins ay 16. Total ay 16 possible outcomes. Okay. So, we determine the value of T or number of tails. So, sa first outcome, 0 pa rin. Okay? 0. Pwedeng 0. Sa second and third, pwedeng 1. Sa fourth, pwedeng 2 ang lumabas. Okay? Hanggang sa last. Okay? Sa last naman, pwedeng ang possible na lumabas ay 4 na number of tails. Okay? So, ang sample space natin dito ay ito. Hindi ko na siya babasahin, pero ito lang siya. Ginawa natin nilapag na natin sa sample space. Nilagyan natin sa bracket. So, the values of the random variable T, number of tails in this experiment are 0, 1, 2, yan yung mga 2, 3, and 4. So, ito yung values of number of tails in this experiment. So, T is equals to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, Okay, so ganun lang ang pag-determine, okay, ng values ng random variable. So next we have illustration of variable. So variable we have here is a quantity whose value changes. The outcome of an experiment need not to be a number such as the outcome when a coin is tossed. It can be heads or tails. However, we often want to represent outcomes as numbers. Katulad ng ginawa ng natin kanina. Diba? Yung sample space natin, ginawa natin siyang numbers. So there are two kinds of variable here. First, we have qualitative. So qualitative is not numerical, it's nominal or names, okay? It is something that you cannot compute, you cannot subtract, you cannot add, multiply, and divide. Qualitative, okay? So it fits into categories such as eye colors, which is variables include blue, green, brown, hazel, or city, like such as Taguig, Manila, Makati, Paranaque. Okay. So ano lang siya, nominal lang siya or puro names. If you can subtract or compute a variable, then that is called a quantitative, whose values result from counting or measuring. So two types of quantitative is discrete and continuous. Discrete because you can, countable ang discrete, right? And ang continuous naman ay measurable. Dito sa eye colors, pwede siyang maging quantitative kung halimbawa, ang sabi, ay ang example ng event ay number of blue eye colors in a classroom. Okay? So, pwede mo siyang bilangin. O kaya naman, number of population in Taguig City and Manila City. So, yun. So, magiging quantitative sila kasi pwede mo na silang i-compute. Pero, pag ganito lang, categories lang, yan, eye colors, yan, pag blue-green, you cannot add naman, you cannot add blue and green. Okay? So, they are qualitative if it's not computable. Next, we have discrete and continuous random variable. A random variable may be classified as discrete and continuous. A discrete random variable has a countable number of possible values. So sa discrete, countable siya or nabibilang. Discrete has a very specific value, which is a whole number. So, okay? And ang example ng discrete ay number of pens in a box. Okay? So, why example nito ay number of pens in a box, 'di ba? Kasi sa loob ng box, pwedeng naglalaman lang siya ng 5 pens, kaya naman 2 pens, 3 pens, 4 pens. So, yan. Nabibilang lang siya, okay? Next ay number of ripe bananas in a basket. Okay, nabibilang lang din. Okay, ang numbers of ripe bananas in a basket. Next, number of heads when flipping a coin. Ito ang example natin. Kaya natin, countable pa siya. Kaya natin mabilang. Number of ants in a colony. Number of students in a classroom. So, yan yung example ng discrete random variable. Next, we have a continuous random variable can assume an infinite number of values in one or more intervals. So, kung ang discrete ay countable, sa continuous naman, measurable siya, okay? So, hindi natatapos ang pagbibilang dito kasi infinite siya. And kung sa discrete ay whole number, sa continuous number naman, ginagamitan natin siya ng decimal or ng fraction, okay? So, halimbawa, ang mga na-measure dito sa, halimbawa ng mga na-measure sa continuous ay time, temperature, okay, age, height, ganyan. So, example yan ay length of electric wires. Yan, example na ano, di ba? Next, the speed of a car. The height of a student. Why height? Kasi di ba minsan, 5 feet and 12 inches, ganyan. So, laging may butal or may decimal. The time needed to finish the test, example yan, 1 hour and 30 minutes, ganon. And amount of sugar in a cup of coffee. So, yan yung discrete and continuous random variable. Discrete probability distribution. A discrete probability distribution consists of the values a random variable can assume and the corresponding probabilities. So, dito naman, hahanapin na natin kung ano ang probability ng ating experiment. So, let's use our example number 1. If 2 coins are tossed, the possible outcomes are head-head, head-tails, tail-head, or tail-tail. If t is the random variable for the number of tails, let us find the probability. So, let's use, kanina yung nakuha nating values ng t. Okay? So, ito yung possible outcome niya, 4 siya. And ito yung mga values niya, 0, 1, and 2, right? So, hanapin natin yung probability of tails. Ilan ba ang number of tails na lumabas sa ating first outcome? 'Di ba lang? 'Di ba wala? So yung no tails dito ay 1 lang. Okay? Kasi isang beses na naman hindi lumabas yung tail natin sa experiment na to. So 1 over the possible outcome or sample space natin, which is 4. So, sa naman, 1 tail, ilang beses lumabas ang 1 tail sa ating experiment? Di ba 2 beses yan sa second outcome at saka sa third outcome? Ang lumabas ay 1 tail lang. Yan, T. Yan. So, 2 over sample space natin, 4. So, pwede pa siyang i-simplify. So, 1/2. Okay? 1/2 ang probability na lalabas ang 1 tail kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 2 coins. Dito naman, 1/4 ang possibility na lalabas ay no tail kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 2 coins. So, sa 2 tails, ilan ang probability, ilan ang probability na lalabas ang 2 tails? So, di ba dito, isang beses lang, which is the fourth outcome naman. Isang beses lang lumabas ang 2 tails. So, 1 over sample space 4. So, 1/4 ang probability na kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 2 coins, lalabas ay 2 tails. So, paano natin so, ilagay na natin sa table ang ating probability. Nating mga nakuha ang probability. So, number of tails, T. So, ito yung values. Okay, lapag natin dito, 0, 1, 2. And probability na no tails ang makuha natin ay 1/4 or 25%. Am I right? Probability naman na 1 tail ang lalabas ay 1/2 or 50%. 50%. Probability na 2 tails ang lalabas kapag tayo nag-toss ng 2 coins ay 1/4 din. So, ganyan lang kumuha ng probability. Ganyan mag-measure ng probability. Okay? Next, same example, let's construct the probability histogram. So, dahil nakuha na natin yung probability, madali na lang tayo mag-construct ng probability histogram. First mayroon tayong table. So, or graph. Okay. Oh, so yung ating row or yung horizontal line natin or yan, ito yung row ay diyan natin ilalatag ang ating probability. Okay? So, ang probability na naman natin ay 1/4 and 1/2. Okay? So, sa ibaba naman, ang ilalatag natin ay number of tails. So, we have 0, 1, 2. So, for no tail, ang probability natin ay 1/4. So, yan. Shade natin ang part na to. Sa one tail naman, ang probability ay 50%. So, shade natin ang 1/2. And sa two tail naman, ang probability, i-shade natin ang 1/4 din. Kasi 1/4 lang naman ang probability din. So, ganyan lang ang pag-construct ng probability histogram. Next, let's use our naman. Example number 3. Yung if 4 coins are tossed, the possible outcomes are here. Ayan. If t is the random variable for the number of tails, let us find the probability and construct the probability histogram. So we have here our outcome and our value. So, di ba, kapag tayo nag-toss ng 4 coins, 16 ang possible outcome in total. Okay? So, ilan ang probability na pag tayo nag-toss ng 4 coins, no tails ang ating makukuha. We have here, isang beses na naman hindi nag-show ang tail sa first outcome lang. So, we will, ang ating event would be 1 over sample space natin ay 16. So, probability of not getting a tail is 1 over 16. Okay? How about getting one tail? Ilan ba ang probability of getting a one tail kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 4 coins? Langin natin 1, 2, 3, 4. O yan, 4. So, 4 over 16 lang ang probability. Pwede pa natin i-simplify. So, pag sinimplify natin, makakuha natin ay 1/4. So, out of 16 possible outcomes, 1/4 lang ang chance na makuha tayo ng 1 tails. Okay. How about getting a 2 tails? Okay, ilan ang chance, okay? Or probability na makuha tayo ng 2 tails kapag tayo nag-toss ng 4 coins. So, bilangin natin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, 6 out of 16 possible outcomes, 6 times lang lumabas ang number of tails. So, 6 over 16. So, pwede pa natin siya i-simplify. Pag sinimplify natin, makukuha natin ay 3 over 8. So, ito lang ang probability na kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 4 coins, 2 tails ang makukuha natin. Last, hindi pa siya last. So, ilan ang probability na kapag tayo nag-toss ng 4 coins, 3 tails naman ang lalabas? So, bilangin natin. 1, 2, 3, 4. So, 4 over 16 or 1/4. Ang probability na kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 4 coins, okay, 3 tails ang lalabas naman. So, last, ilan ang probability na kapag tayo ay nag-toss ng 4 coins, 4 tails ang lalabas? So, kita naman dito na isang beses lang, okay? Isang beses lang. So, we have 1 over 16. Okay? So, yan lang yung probability. Kapag tayo nag-toss ng 4 coins, 4 tails ang lalabas. So, wala nang kailangan i-simplify. Lahat na yun nakasimplify. So, meron na tayong probability. Napaglan natin, ang ating values or number of tails ay 0, 2 tails, 1 or 1 tail, 2, 2 tails, 3, 3 tails, 4, 4 tails. And ang probability ay ito. So no tails, ang probability ay 1 over 16. Sa one tail, ang probability naman ay 1/4. Sa two tails, ang probability ay 3/8. Sa three tails, ang probability ay 1/4. And sa four tails, ang probability ay 1/16. Okay. Then, next, let's construct the probability histogram kasi meron na tayong probability of our experiment. So, yan. So, ang ating row ay yung probability and ang ating column naman, yan, ay number of tails. So, sa no tail, 1/16 lang. So, i-shade natin yung part na to lang. Yan. Hanggang 1/16. Sa one tail naman, shade natin ay hanggang 1/4. So, hanggang dito. So, sa two tails, shade natin ay 3/8. So, hanggang dito. Okay, tapat na natin. Sa three tails naman, 1/4. So, katapat lang siya ng one tail. So, shade natin dito. Kasi dito yung number of tails. So, sa four tails naman, 1/16. So, i-shade lang natin tong part na to. Katapat naman. Katapat siya ng no tail. So, ganun lang ang pagkuha ng pag-determine ng random variable, ng values ng random variable, and pagkuha ng probability, and pag-construct ng probability histogram. So, I hope may natutunan kayo. So, that's all. Thank you very much, and thank you for listening.